Welcome everyone to another edition of the Entrepreneur Journey, and I'm so pleased to have Krystal Booker on the episode today. How are you today, Krystal?
I am so excited to be here. What a fun way to start a Tuesday. I'm excited about all the things we're going to unpack. I appreciate you having me as a guest, and I can't wait for us to dive in.
Nice. We're going to get into your story and a little bit more about your expertise a little later, but could you kind of just give us the surface level of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Krystal, and I'm the CEO and founder of Krystal Clear Virtual, which is my operations agency. I'm also the CEO and founder of Krystal Clear Digital, which is where I work with mompreneur coaches, or I work with mompreneurs that are VAs or OBMs wanting to pivot into the agency model. So in a nutshell, I am really devoted to supporting mission-driven visionaries that want to be able to work less, make more of an impact and income, and be able to delegate to elevate.
Wow. So I heard VA. I heard another word is OBMs. Is that what you said?
Yeah, online business manager. Yep.
Oh, see, I learned something new every day. I never knew that moniker. That three-letter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another thing that we like to do on the Entrepreneur Journey is kind of break the ice, get to know the guest a little bit. So I have rapid fire questions for you.
Love it.
So first, let's go ahead and get started. Camping or hotel in the city?
Man, I could go either way, but let's go with hotel in the city because I love a good hotel bed.
Okay, nice. Saltwater or freshwater?
Saltwater.
Yes. Better feeling, accomplishing a goal or experiencing something new?
I think because of where I'm at in mom stage, I'm going to say experiencing something new, but that's a really hard one.
Nice. Yeah, I purposely put that on there because I knew it was hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Sundays, slow and easy or prep for work?
Oh my gosh, I do both. I try to do both in the same day. I'm going to say prep for the new week because that is my day. That house has to be in order. All the things have to be ready. But then after that, we are definitely taking a Sunday afternoon nap after church, after the things are done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes either way, right? Sometimes it's nice. Now, the fill in the blank question. This is one of my favorite segments of every entrepreneur journey. Your fill in the blank question is the best way to maximize your efficiency as an entrepreneur is blank.
Yep. So I have to go with a twofer here because I cannot choose between the two. They're both equally important. I'm going to say you can't go without systems and delegation without jeopardizing efficiency in your business.
Nice.
Yeah. Those are my two favorite things to talk about anyway as a business owner, but those are the things that I'm like, they go hand in hand and you need them both.
I would agree. Now, let's kind of talk about how you got into entrepreneurship, right? Tell us like what your foray into entrepreneurship was, kind of ups, downs, whatever you want to talk about up to where you are now.
Yeah. Okay. So put on your cheesy hat because it's going to probably feel a bit cheesy, but I'm going to go it's the truth. It's my journey and it can be cheesy if it needs to be. I am a mompreneur simply because of a result of my faith. I started this entrepreneurship journey with zero experience in the business world, other than I had pursued a career, went to college to be in the dental industry. I had my whole game plan of life mapped out to where I was going to graduate high school, go to my associate's degree in college, get right to work in the dental field. I had a whole plan here in Alabama. You get in a practice, you can be sponsored to go further your education. It was going to be all the things. And I built a 7-year career following that path. And then I got pregnant with our first son, our first child. And it was during pregnancy, and I didn't work at a practice that I didn't love, but it was during that pregnancy, God started doing some work about what life was really about to look like. And literally had my son and looked at him and was like, there's no way in 12 weeks I'm going back to work and handing him over to a complete stranger and not being able to be a mom full time. So that led to figuring out how the heck I was going to be able to help support our family and do that from home, which landed me into becoming a VA freelancer. And I did that starting in January of 2018 and kept doing it until August of 2020. prior to launching Krystal Clear Virtual, it was about May of 2020, God kind of started saying, hey, we're doing more here than what you're letting me do. And that's where the business was born. So Krystal Clear Virtual came first because I was all the way inside of clients' businesses prior to this. It was a real quick growing into the director of operations role. And that's where I started doing a lot of the deeper diving into understanding systems and how businesses are better ran. I worked alongside the former integrator for the book Rocket Fuel as his right hand for a year and a half. All of these stepping stones in my journey led me to unpacking the good, bad, and ugly and what it takes to really run a business in a way that you can work less and make more. You can have an impact that doesn't jeopardize the things that are most important in your life. Did I always get it right? Did I always live the flexible freedom path as an entrepreneur? No. But because of that, the roadblocks I experienced and the bumps and the things, it led me to the business model that I have now and the business model that we provide for other entrepreneurs when we come in to work with them through the agency or when I coach mompreneurs. I have this delegate to elevate approach front and center, which allows us to teach how systems can really drive results, but then beyond that, how you can delegate to leverage talent and have a strong team that supports your ability to just be a visionary with a strong team supporting you as you go do the thing that gives you freedom and flexibility in the ways you need it in your life.
Wow. We're gonna dive into some of that when we get into your expertise.
Yeah.
I have a question, as I always do when someone tells me their story. So back when you were first getting started, how did you go about obtaining your first clients? Like you said, I'm going to be a VA.
Yeah.
Then what? Like, how did you go about getting your first clients?
Yeah. So everything again, cheesy, I'm never taking credit for how things have played out in my life because it's 100. When I look at every single piece of my pie and puzzle in entrepreneurship, every single stepping stone was laid out for me intentionally by God. Believe that wholeheartedly. There's just no excuses or explanations for how it has played out other than God. But I was led to a local moms group where someone suggested I make a post in there, and I did, saying this is what I wanted to do. One of those local moms was like, hey, I want to introduce you to this avenue of support and how you can do it. And so that's where the virtual assistant title was unpacked. And back then, Upwork wasn't as kind of sort of questionable and spammy as it is nowadays. And that was the first platform that I went out as a freelancer targeting opportunities. I landed a role with a large nationwide publishing company that needed a virtual assistant. And once I got into it, got trained, that was a role that it was like, if you knocked the socks off in that one, you opened a gate to client opportunities. And so that's how it happened. I was getting clients as fast as I could handle and even turning away clients as fast as I was getting them because of how busy I was in that role because I was good at what I was doing for them. So that kind of opened the door to, oh my gosh, there's a lot that can be done in this online business world and it not have a cap and it be completely different than when you get out of a traditional workspace. I mean, I went from making $15 an hour as a dental assistant, thinking that was great, to going at and knocking on the door at $30 an hour right out the gate because I could and I was good at what I was doing. So it just opened the doors to that freedom. And that was the starting point. A Facebook mompreneurs group, not even mompreneurs, just a local mom Facebook group.
That's amazing. So more questions based on that. So not questions, but really insights. So when you got that first opportunity, you excelled at it. You had mentioned like how you just did, and that's how other opportunities happen. Is you excel at one thing, and then boom, more opportunities open up.
Right.
So, and so I don't know if I picked up on it at some point during your journey. The vision for what you're doing now came to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want to. This is where I want to take this now. Is it? can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love to talk about this. So it was in the thick of being a director of operations for a visionary that had multiple businesses. After reflecting on all the other clients' businesses I was in, where I quickly realized that at any point in time when your business ran into a capacity issue, you didn't have scalability. And it was because that I was inside of this one client's business and getting a peek into all of his clients' businesses, that I was quickly establishing that even bigger companies, larger than my own, very large companies with multiple team members, everyone continued to run into this capacity issue, this delegation and implementation issue, because for each bit of scaling you have, there's more implementation and delegation that has to be added for the business to keep up. So what was happening is visionaries or someone key and important on the role in the leadership function was constantly in this hamster wheel of, I've got to go craft a job description, I've got to interview, I've got to onboard, I've got to train, and I've got to hope and pray that this person is great before I have to do it again for this next role of the company that's scaling and growing. So when I was knocking on the door of a capacity issue for my own business and also seeing how frequently it was happening in other people's businesses of all scale and all size, I quickly identified that there was a better way for us all to grow and have a level of delegation support that we could trust without being stuck in burnout or the weeds of trying to figure it all out ourselves. So again, here comes God opening a door to figuring out how it was going to be possible. And I had joined a mastermind community that was referenced and supposed to be for my coaching business, that actually opened the door to how Krystal Clear Virtual was going to scale and then create this level of support to give other entrepreneurs the avenue for scaling too with ease. So we aren't limited to the kind of contractors we can place in a company. And then we do all the things behind the scenes to ensure that our team members are set for success. So what this does is a visionary gets to say, I'm going to go grow this business. I'm going to go make a huge impact. And I don't have to worry about where my implementation support is going to come from, because Krystal and her team can give me exactly who I need for the role that I need filled with flexibility, so that I get to just go grow and scale. And she gets to be behind the scenes giving me the avenue of support to continue to scale with me. So that's how we were born. It was looking at the agency was born, I should say. It was looking at my own struggles and looking at lots of struggles of other entrepreneurs and going, it doesn't have to be as hard as it is right now. And we're going to provide an avenue for simplifying to multiply impact and income.
Wow. It's always comes, that's where most, I find most entrepreneurs come from. It's like, there's a problem, I have a solution, right?
Yep.
Even if it's a problem in their own business, kind
Yeah.
of like you were saying, I've hit a ceiling and this is how I know to get past it, right? Now
Yep.
I'm going to teach other people how to do this thing.
Yeah. And what I always am super transparent in saying is I did not get here and get this business model that has allowed me to unlock infinite scaling opportunities without delegating to elevate. I met my HR partner in that mastermind. I was introduced to that mastermind, not because it was going to go unlock my avenue for scaling the coaching business, but it was because I was going to meet my HR partner, who is now in this thick of this with me, that I delegate all of the team recruiting, training, management, all of the pieces of the company that keeps me being able to sit visionary, having great conversations, getting to still sit in the sales calls because I have the capacity to do it and I love it, knowing that everything that we need to do behind the scenes is handled by someone who's incredible and herself has an agency that she's been able to go grow and scale. So I practice what I preach with this delegate to elevate method that I talk about. I started it right out the gate, and that's how I know that it's able to work for other people too. And we're seeing it play out in clients' businesses that we support every single day.
Nice. Sounds like a solution that a lot of entrepreneurs need. And we're going to get to that exactly what services you can offer to clients. But I want to dive into your expertise a little bit, and you've answered some of this already, I think, but kind of maybe just elaborate. So, what is the secret to utilizing delegation to increase profits and revenue?
Yeah, so it's taking a look at what would produce better results for the company if it was delegated. So there's two parts to this. It's If I delegate this stuff, what do I get to go do as visionary that will grow and scale the company? Because I have capacity to do it. I'm not burned out. I'm not exhausted trying to wrap up the day and having to table this thing. And then there's the other piece of, where am I the bottleneck to the company? Because I'm still doing this thing, or I have a team member that's maybe not in the right seat for doing it, still doing this thing. And the results aren't as great as they could be because I'm holding on to it, or this other team member that's kind of having to balance it right now that shouldn't be is holding on to it. If we were to delegate those things to someone who is more of an expert in that area, would we get better results? So it's looking at where I get to shift out of some stuff to do more for the company, and where putting an expert in the thing will provide better results for the company because we're delegating to elevate.
That's so good. So one thing I want to touch on in there that you mentioned is having the wrong person doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
That is very important in so many companies. Like you're maybe wasting somebody's talent in the role that they should be in by having them do something that they shouldn't be doing. So
so it's like putting a social media manager into like a tech troubleshooting role that is not in their element. They need to be creative doing the marketing focused things, but you've got them troubleshooting something big that broke in your automation that is not in their wheelhouse, but because they're a body in the company, you've got them doing it. Well, you're ultimately probably paying out more because now this person has to go research and figure out and do all the things to try to help you here. Whereas if you had the expert in the role with that skill set, they're able to knock it out a lot quicker. So whereas you think you're saving money because you're not hiring multiple people, you're really not, because you're just paying more for someone to do something that's not in their element versus having the expert in to do it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think, would you rather have one person doing what they're great at, or several people doing things that they're not good at?
Right. Yeah. We don't have to have this unicorn environment, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel like if they can get the people all over the business, they're better off versus in their own lane of genius. And what's great too, tying into, we've considered this for the agency and how we craft support. You don't have to hire a full-time tech person to get the troubleshooting that you need monthly. That might be a total of 10 hours a month. You're not going and hiring full-time just to reserve that talent. You can have flexibility on how you bring this in so that you have the right people sitting in the right seats for only amount of time that you need them. And everyone is rowing in just a well-fashioned manner that gives you the results you're looking for.
So with that being said, I want to get into another topic that has kind of been on my mind a lot lately, and I've talked to quite a few entrepreneurs about it. Work-life balance, because there is a big debate that there's no such thing, that there are going to be times of unbalance when you have to be unbalanced, but then there are proponents that say, no, that's not true. You can have balance and still get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So I want your insights into that.
Yes. So I say you have to be flexible with yourself. Like, we put so much pressure on ourselves as entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, whatever our status is, to be the best of all of the things, doing all of the things all of the time. But ultimately, your success definition boils down to what success feels like in your life. And if work-life balance looks like, hey, I know every day I can have a top 3 things that I can check off in the business that are going to move the needle, that I can make happen. And then I can go pick up my kids from school and spend the afternoon with them, maybe having to wrap some stuff up, but I get to do it on my back porch while they're playing in the mud and they're giggling and they're happy. That's work-life balance. You're not having so much pressure of it has to look a certain way for it to be called balance. It's, what does success look like for you? What does it feel like to feel balanced to you? And if that's 8 hours a day in the office and you feel productive, and then you get to have your evenings with your kids and your family, that's your own work-life balance. If it needs to look like sometimes you're on the computer and your kids are having the best time in the backyard while you're wrapping stuff up, great. That's your work-life balance. Like, we put so much pressure on looking at what the world says is work-life balance and what the world says we should be doing as entrepreneurs, that we forget that we get to choose our own paths in this and get to be aligned with what feels great to us and our families and our businesses, and that be perfectly okay and be your own definition of success there.
I love that answer. One thing that if I could get a segue to,
Yeah.
I'll ask you another question, but we'll talk about this later. Krystal, if you want more work-life balance, Krystal can help you with that.
This is very true. Yeah. Delegate to elevate. Figure
Yeah.
out what you want to do in your business and just do those things, and then go get the time to do more of whatever makes you feel balanced in the other areas of your life. I will say that you have to be very intentional though, and disciplined, because as an entrepreneur that's driven and goal focused and really wanting to go do the thing, especially when you're working remotely, the office door can stay open because it's at your house and you just let it stay open. But you have to get intentional about other areas of your life being priority too. And whereas there are going to be some days that you have more stuff on your to-do list for the business than others, and you might have to shift things around personally, you can't be stuck in a grind of just only going after the business and sacrificing everything else. I'm speaking from experience here. I've learned the hard lessons of trying to shoulder all the things and doing it all and putting way too much time into the business and not enough time into mom life and wife life and friend life. And you start to feel that really contributing to burnout when you're not intentional about going, all right, it's okay that I unplug right now. It's okay that I grinded for 5 hours today and I have to halt to go have lunch with my husband and then get the kids and hang out with them this afternoon. You just got to be really disciplined on what feels good to you and then sticking to that.
Yes. Another thing that I like to say is there are probably some things that you need to make non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Some examples for me is my daughter is in track and cross country. We have not, since 7th grade, we have not missed a meet or an event. Because that's become a non-negotiable. Nothing gets scheduled during those times because we're there to support her. Right. Church on Sunday. Right.
Absolutely.
Work does not come before church. Right.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
It's all about just finding what your priorities are and making some things non-negotiable so that you make sure that you show up at the times that you really want to show up.
Yeah, such a great point. I mean, you can build your schedule around those things as non-negotiables, and your ideal week can absolutely reflect all of those things happening. For me, I like being able to pick my kids up every day. Every now and then I have my husband go do it, but I like that I get to drop them off and I get to pick them up. They're not on a school bus. I get to spend time with them. I get to get the hugs when I'm picking them up. I get to walk them into class. I get to have fun with them doing that. So my days don't start until 9 a.m. my time because I get to get back from dropping them off. And then my days pause for an hour and a half in the afternoons because I'm going to go get my kids from 2 different schools and we're going to enjoy our car ride and it's going to be fine. So I love that you've noted that. And it's definitely true. You can build a business around your life. I like to say you should be building the business around the life you want, not building your life around your business.
Very, very true. Very, very true. I'm sure so many great conversations happen on those car rides with your kids.
Yes. So much. I mean, and we are big Christian radio listeners. I'm just really intentional about like what I let my kids listen to in the car. Do I listen to other music sometimes when they're not in the car? Yes, disclaimer. But when we're in there, and so we're cranking it up, and my kids are in the back seat and they're singing songs about Jesus. It's literally some of our favorite. In the conversations, we're talking about the random things that 5-year-olds do in kindergarten during the day. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember those days. Our daughter is 17 now, so that's been a while ago. But now this talks are about college and things like that.
It's heavier, right? I'm just not ready.
Yeah.
It happens too fast.
It does. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say it doesn't. It does.
I just sent out a text message to a friend last night that was checking on my kids, and I was like, you know what? It's not okay that the time is going faster versus slowing down. Like I thought baby stage was fast. Here in kindergarten and pre-K, I don't even know where the time is going. I look up and I feel like they've grown a foot, and I just looked at them the day before or the night before. It's like the next morning. I'm like, I don't understand how it's all happening as fast as it is.
Yeah. When they're young, it seems like they're growing super fast because they kind of are in relation to when they get older. So
it's crazy. I mean, we're talking about K-5 graduation happening in a couple weeks. Like that's my first baby. So it's emotional. It's all the things. Happening too fast.
So something you touched on already is just like me, you are a devoted Jesus follower. And this is the other thing I like to talk about a lot with entrepreneurs is, especially Christian entrepreneurs, how they interweave their faith into their business. So can you kind of
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So mine in a nutshell is super duper simple. I would literally not be where I am doing what I'm doing, confident in what I'm doing, if God wasn't involved in any of it, all of it. I'm that person that if something feels shifty or something is a little bit unknown and there's an altar call at church, you better believe when it comes to the business that I'm going down there and I'm just laying it at Jesus's feet so that he can let me know what I'm doing next. Because every single bit of everything I've done up into this point over the last 5 years has been Jesus led. Every mastermind I've joined, every conversation I've had, all of the things are because it feels like the Holy Spirit is leading me to do that. Sounds cheesy. Is it? I don't really
Not,
care.
it's not.
I am very faith led and I'm proud to say it. I love that you talk about it on this podcast. It's not always open discussion. And I am always going to be the person that references Jesus and God and nothing else. I'm not fluffy. I'm not referencing the universe or any other things. And for any of your listeners that it doesn't align with, I'm super sorry, but I'm a Jesus God led woman. And so is this business, and it always will be.
Same here. Same here. I'm ecstatic that his plans are greater than mine. And so many
Oh, for
times
sure.
in my life and in my journey, I think I've had my plans. I plan every day, right? But then I look back and I say, wow, I'm so glad God stepped in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And the things that we feel like are mountains that we could never see the top of are just a grain of sand to him. So it's like, thank God we have him figuring this stuff out for us. And whereas it feels heavy, because entrepreneurship can feel heavy, there are
Mm-hmm.
curveballs, there are roadblocks, there are things you just could have never foreseen coming that come. And I'm just grateful that I'm not carrying all of it. I always joke that I don't joke, it's serious. God is my greatest strategy. You can work with a coach, you can join a mastermind, you can get to know all of these people, but at the end of the day, God is my strategist when it comes to the things that I'm doing. And also, it's like if at any point in time I'm doing something that isn't aligned with his purpose and what this business is supposed to be doing for others anyway, I want to know. I want that slap in the head going, hey, wake up. You're doing your thing, this thing your way instead of letting me take the lead here. Because ultimately, I feel like how we're able to show up and serve is tied to my purpose. And if I get that wrong, I want to know. And he's the one that's going to reveal that to me
Yeah.
ultimately anyway.
Yeah, I resonate with that quite a bit. I was asked not that long ago, I was on someone else's show, and it is very, very Jesus-led woman as well. And I forget the exact question. I think it was just about around the way to entrepreneurship, right? Because this can get hard and this can get heavy, much like you were saying. And I like without God, I still have what I was alluding to is basically I still have joy. No matter how hard this gets,
Yep.
I still have joy. And I
Yep.
don't know what that would feel like without God, without still having that joy, no matter how hard this gets, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I had the recent church service this past weekend. I kind of had God come at me with like a, hey, you need to hear this. And it was that whole, you can get really caught up in thinking things are going as beautifully as they are because of all of the actions that you're taking versus referencing, reflecting, having that gratitude about all of it being given to you, right? So, and that ties into the whole, you got to figure it out yourself thing. No, you don't have to figure it out yourself.
No.
You can literally just pray it out and you're going to get exactly what you need. So I love that you touched on that and that you can still have joy even when it feels scary, hairy,
Yeah.
funky, because you know ultimately that it's all going to be okay. And that's where I find peace. My thing is peace. It's like, hey, this thing is happening and I don't really know why, and I'm not sure what you're doing here, but I know that it's going to be good. Whatever's coming from this is going to be good. And I also recognize too, I could get on a tangent, so you'll have to just tell me to be
No, it's
quiet in a
good.
minute. I also recognize too, I heard this. Sometimes I like to scroll when I'm wanting to get content inspired. And I heard a pastor talking about how the adversary will come at you and try to attack your confidence in some scenarios when he knows that you're getting really close to the promised land, the blessing, the thing that God is trying to get you to, tied to your purpose. So if your confidence can be shaken enough that you throw in the towel, you quit the things, you don't ever get to walk into that. So it's really being aware of how you're feeling about scenarios in your business and knowing ultimately that if this isn't what God needs you to do, he's going to be the one to reveal it to you. Anything else obstacle wise coming at you is potentially an attack from the adversary trying to rock you from that thing that you're literally about to walk into, because God has you on the journey and plan to do that.
Yeah, if I could, it's not really a counterpoint, but it's a point also that God, it may just be God sharpening you for
Testing,
what's
yeah.
next, right?
Yeah, for sure.
God needs you because you need to be a lot of times you need to be a different person for that next step than you are right now. And sometimes it takes a little bit of sharpening to get you to that point. And God can do that for us, right?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that ties to the message that we had last week too, right? The test is sometimes just the strengthening of faith that you need so that when you step into that thing, you're ready for what it is that you're supposed to be walking into. So definitely can be both sides to there. And then obviously tons of verses in the Bible that speak to both of those things, being an avenue that God uses. Again, ultimately, God allows some of the things. So maybe it is an attack from the adversary, but is allowed so that you can have that faith strengthening on the other side to prep you. You weren't ready, but now you will be for the thing you're walking into, which is really great, right?
Yeah. One other thing I want to touch on around this, and I'm so glad we're having this part of the conversation. Is yes, pray, and God is in ultimate control, and God is it's God, right? But he wants you to be a participant. He's not asking you to sit on the sideline and wait for him, right? He wants you participating in your journey. So I just want to make that clear to everyone.
You got to be Peter and step out of the boat.
That's right.
But if you just stay still, you're never going to walk into the thing. You have to take action.
I love
faith
that analogy.
Without works is dead. Kind of, all tied together.
Yes, I love that analogy. Peter stepping out of the boat. Awesome. I like I said, I really love that part of the conversation. Now we're gonna switch the gears just a little bit back to business. And we're gonna actually talk about your business. So Krystal Clear Virtual helps online businesses with a lot of different things, right? What do you find online businesses struggle with the most and need the most help with that you provide?
Yeah, honestly, it's the shifting out of doing so much. So visionaries, whether their company is making multiple 7 figures, 8 figures, or they're still in that solopreneurship grind, they struggle with the idea of delegating profitably. So it's going back to, so the visionaries making multiple 7 and 8 figures, they're not so much about delegating profitably, they just won't let go. So you run into these visionaries and they're burnt the heck out and they're borderline wanting to throw in the towel. And then you've obviously got the solopreneur side where they know that they need to get out of the grind, but they're worried about profit margins dipping and they just want to hold on to all the things because the more they hold on to, the more they make. Or really, you're just risking the business in a lot of ways. So when you look at, delegate to elevate is a saying that I have adopted from the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. So Mark C. Winters wrote Traction and Rocket Fuel, and they talk about delegate to elevate. But what I did when I heard this phrase and term and their breakdown of it is I looked at it at like large scale. Okay, there's so many ways this can be applied to a business. And again, it's tying to, do you want the expert coming in and doing it? Do you need to offload it so that you get to do more of the right things? The entire focus being more of the right things have to be done the right way for the business to go grow and scale. And I don't have to be stuck in figuring out who I'm going to hire when. When it becomes a delegate to elevate conversation, it's literally like, Krystal, this is what we're doing. This is what I want to get rid of. Is this one person? Is this 5? I don't know, but I want you to figure this out for me because I need to offload this and I need somebody else doing it better. And then we get to craft what that ultimate support looks like because we're operational and delegation experts. We're able to give that avenue of this is how you get from A to B, and then from B all the way to Z at some point, because you're having the pathway that allows you to only focus on what you need to focus on while team members are focusing on what they need to do. And everybody has the internal support that gets everybody the high level results for the company day in and day out.
So much to unpack there, but I think one of the things that stands out from what you provide is there are a lot of employment agencies, right? You go out there and hire someone, but you give someone the actual, so you give them a solution, not just a Band-Aid, right?
Yeah. So we're deep diving, like what we're doing. Anybody comes to me and they're like, what are your VA packages? We don't have VA packages. We have, what does your business need? Who needs to sit in this seat? Where do you want to be budget wise? Where is somebody going to be set for success with the kind of experience they're coming into the role with? Beyond that, we've got the flexibility factor. We've got the security blanket of you literally never have to wonder if something happens to your VA tomorrow, what you're going to do, because we shoulder that responsibility. But then beyond that, your VA isn't coming to you for all troubleshooting needs. They have an internal team that they're able to lean on and have conversations with. I had an account manager, one of my brilliant account managers last week, jump in. We have a lot of GHL expert team members in our agency that we have supporting clients that have GHL, that software in their company. And the VA had a stuck point. My account manager jumped in and had it fixed with her in 5 minutes. Instead of going to the client and saying, hey, I'm stuck, she came to us and she wasn't stuck. And the client never even knew about it. Whereas that would have been another Slack message coming to the visionary, interrupting their day, interrupting their progress to try to work on and troubleshoot with the team. We check these boxes because we know what delegate to elevate has to look like for companies wanting to scale without limits.
So ultimately, as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, you want it to feel like operations is happening almost seamlessly behind the scenes. Like as far as the way the visionary perceives it, there may be hiccups, but they're all being handled, right?
Yes.
And it just seems like a well-oiled machine, which it is.
Yeah. There's some things that obviously still contribute to the client, right? Like there's communication, there's delegation that has to come from you. But as far as like execution, implementation on those things, your team member is set for success. And then beyond that, let's say you bring somebody in as an admin VA today, but then 2 months from now, you decide you need to bring in another tool for the company. Maybe this admin VA didn't have experience prior, but you're pinging me and you're saying, hey, Krystal, we're bringing GHL into the company. Can we work with Sandra so that she can get some knowledge around this tool to help me navigate it as it's going to be new to the team? And then, yes, these are conversations I'm having with my team manager, and we incorporate those monthly trainings as an opportunity for our team to strengthen in the roles that they're in.
Wow. So in my own business, one of the struggles that I found is finding talent. And it's often difficult and sometimes feels like a minefield. I know that cheaper is not always better. And I saw a reel that you did. I don't know, it may have been a few days ago, but you actually touched on this subject of cheaper is not better. So if you could kind of expand on that.
Yes. So I have many conversations with incredible entrepreneurs in this space that come to me saying, I've tried to hire VAs in the past. I've hired from here, from there. It's just not working out because X, Y, and Z. But then further down into the conversation, they want to make it very known that they have something like a $10 or $15 an hour budget for the role. And what I've unpacked is that the role that they want to fill requires heavy strategy, requires a lot of experience, requires maybe something like tech that is very involved and requires a skill set that is strong, needs a really strong communication factor and being English driven and like client facing and all of these things that are not categorized traditionally in what you can find really strongly in a $15 an hour budget. But they have led their entire hiring process in attempt to fill this role focused on the budget versus focused on the right person for the role sitting in the right seat. my team and I, we always factor in budget, but I am very upfront and honest with people in a conversation and say, what is more important to you? That you get somebody in that can drive results for you long-term, that you can truly give them a thing and they go make it happen and increase profits, because instead of something taking several weeks to finish, it's knocked out in a couple of days because they have the skill set to do that. Or is it most important to you that you stay in this $15 an hour budget? If that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and tell you Krystal Clear Virtual and their team and how we're set up isn't going to operate in a $15 an hour budget. We do have a few very strong overseas talent that are a little bit more affordable, but they're still not at $15 an hour because we are intentional about targeting team members that we can rely on as an agency and that our clients can rely on to drive high level results. So our process for hiring, we do all of the vetting, all of the training, all of the things up front, so that when I get into a conversation with a client, all I have to do is unpack the role's requirements, and then we're going to go target one of the contractors we believe will fit the role strongly because they are the right person for the right seat, not necessarily looking at their budget. We're going to factor it in, but that's not our deciding factor. What we want is for you to have a level of support that you can count on as you go and scale. And so shifting the focus from hourly rate to what is going to be the most incredible outcome for the business through delegation results, and going at it, focusing on the requirements to ensure that happens versus checking the box of budget. Budget's not your telling factor that you're going to have success.
Yes. So here's an illustration. I don't know if illustration is the right word, but often what happens is an entrepreneur will hire on budget or just trying to get the cheapest solution to a problem, and it ends up costing them more money in the long run than it did trying to fill the void, right? Because it could even affect your reputation if it's someone on the client-facing side that you're hiring, and they are not fulfilling like they should. Boom, you're taking a long-term hit, not just in the short term. So. I love
this
that.
conversation came up in a client success manager related role recently in a sales call, a discovery call. And it was like, this person is sitting on a Zoom with your clients, supporting them through onboarding and troubleshooting and all of these. You don't want to be focused on budget for this role. You want to be focused on results from this role and what it's going to take to get those. So this person was very open to that conversation and really received the feedback well. This was the first time she was going to be hiring for this role. So she didn't know what to go into this looking for, but that's where the delegation strategy plays out in every call that I have with a potential client. I'm not just going, hey, this is how we can help. We're understanding your business from the get-go so that we can give you the best possible outcome and roadmap for delegation success.
So I want to get into a couple of those services that I saw when I checked out your website, and maybe you can explain them a little bit further because they definitely intrigued me, and I'm sure they will intrigue a lot of listeners. So one of those is client journey optimization / management, and the other one is just client experience optimization. Can you kind of talk about what those roles look like and what kind of the functions of those are?
Yeah, so client experience management, it's really going to be like checking in on processes, what's going on. Maybe it is managing like a delight process, maybe, and that could look like gifting for birthdays or holidays, right? It's overall experience. What does it feel like working with the business? Optimization is going to be going and looking at like processes, what's currently playing out, and from client conversation to implementation to execution to offboarding, like it's looking at everything and going, this is how we make it better. Management overall is kind of sitting in that client success role where you are looking at all of the things, and you're also in heavy communication with the client and the team, and you're just making sure that everything is executed in a way that your clients are set for success and the business looks really, really good and devoted to client support. So there becomes this level of growth in a business that, as the visionary, you can't do all of those things and still go do what you do best for the company, but you also can't compromise what those areas of the business look like, because if your clients aren't happy and taken care of, then your business isn't thriving very long anyway, regardless of what you're doing on the front end. So, you know, nitpicked a little bit so that you categorize it what you want, but overall, all of these are focused on making sure that clients are really well taken care of. The business is streamlined and how all the things are happening so that you're the most efficient, most profitable as you can be while clients are still taken care of.
Nice. I have two comments on that. And one of
Yeah.
those is that is probably one of the hardest things for visionaries to let go of is the client
Yeah, for sure.
experience, right? So that finding the right person for those types of roles is key. And the other thing is the impact that person can have, like hiring that type of person for you. Because let's go back to reputation, referrals, right, and client experience. Those are tied hand in hand, right? Like if a client has a good experience from all the way through, they're going to tell other people, right? And that person that you have in that role that you that was well groomed, well picked
Yep.
by Krystal Clear Virtual
Yeah.
is going to help you with that, right? So that to me is a revenue generating position.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And you definitely want to be focused on that person being aligned with the brand, the mission, their ability to communicate, their ability to juggle and process and do the things, because depending on how big the company is, you may have 20 clients that you want to bring this client success manager into owning and managing. And you've got to know that their experience and skill set are going to support large scale. And then there's opportunities for doing this earlier on too. So you can slowly trickle some of this happening with a team member and you're not completely letting go of the reins of everything all at one time and feeling really risky. Like there's a lot of ways to make it happen so that it feels really good to you and achievable long-term, and then setting whoever it is up for success coming into the role so that you can get those high-level results and not compromise such an important area of the business. Because client referrals are going to be the best opportunity for conversion always, because instead of competing for attention, you literally are getting the warmest possible lead coming from someone who has already hyped you up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Oh, so much. My brain is almost hurting from all this great information. No,
Yeah.
It's been very good. So thank you, Krystal, so much. So can you tell people a little bit more about how to find out more about what you do and how you can help them?
Yeah. So ultimately, I like to say, if you're struggling with trying to figure out how delegation can be applied, like you just know something has to give, all of the places pretty much that you can find me, Krystal with a K, Krystal Clear Virtual is where I'm at. I'll share all of the things with you, Doug, so that you can share that with them too. But in most of the places, you can find a free 15-minute delegation strategy call. And so that's a really good opportunity to just come in and say, I don't know what needs to happen, but something does. This is what's going on. And we're going to nitpick a bit, and we're going to, leaving that call, you're going to have a started roadmap on what you can look at to delegate with success. And then the other areas, I mean, we've got a lot of things rolling out and offers and opportunities that we're going to start packaging in a way that it really helps in key areas of the business and still receiving that delegate to elevate experience. But coming into a call with me, you're going to get to understand how your business can shift, whether that's systems driven, delegation driven. We're going to unpack that together. I'm a all hands in, up to your elbows kind of gal, and figuring it out. Having these strategy calls are really, really fun to me. And we still have it available to do for that free avenue. Of course, we also have the ultimate SOP bundle that I believe I mentioned to you, Doug, which is another avenue of like, we don't have to meet. If you just know that your systems might be a mess and you want to go figure out how to have your team optimized and working on things in the most efficient way, that's a free resource that you can get in most of the links in the bios and all the places too.
Wow. All right. So we're going to put the links. Krystal's going to share those with me. And if you are listening to this as a podcast, they're going to be in the show notes. If you see this as a video anywhere, it's probably going to be in the comments or in the description of the video somewhere. So if you're feeling stuck in your business, it's probably something that Krystal can help you with.
Yeah. Yeah. Safe to say.
So if you just I'm stuck and I really don't know even how I'm stuck, maybe.
Yep.
Krystal can give you some clarity.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, and it's a common spot to be in too. Like that's what I like to leave on the note of visionaries their teams, everybody carries a lot in the company, and no one said you had to be able to figure it all out all the time. You just have to know when it's time to elevate the things to figure out what needs to happen. You just got to be able to wear the hat that says, I'm asking for help, because if I don't know that we're going to make it as a business much longer, because those are really real feelings and conversations that come up for business owners all the time. So my team and I, we are happy to come in and troubleshoot with you and give you a plan. I've had so many business owners that were in that spot, and we have sold a ton of audit and strategy build offers recently. And it was because they needed the clarity, and then they needed the roadmap. And they wanted to know how this area of the business could be different. And these offers that we provide, we are in the trenches doing all of the things, market research. We're taking a deep analytical view of your business in the trenches of it. And then we're also building a strategy completely aligned with the goals you're revealing to us for the company. And so this is value packed, but it's a service that gives that clarity and gives that strategy so that you can go, okay, I want to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. You go do it yourself. You can lean on us for implementation. I always say there is so much power in a clear audit and strategy build, and that's not above what we do for our team. And we've been doing a lot of those lately. All of that tying back to many, many people need this kind of clarity support, and that's what we're showing up to do more now than ever.
Wow, nice. You might have just did this, but usually I ask any parting words for our entrepreneurs. You might have just did that.
Yeah, you are doing amazing things, and you're going to continue to do amazing things. Just know that you don't have to do any of it alone. And there is support out there that gives you an avenue for doing things in a way that feels most aligned with the business that you want. Stay faith inspired, and you're going to make all the choices that you need to make for the company to continue to have success. And Doug, I have appreciated getting to be here with you today and having this great conversation. Faith and entrepreneurship are two of my favorite things to talk about. And we've got to tie it all into one big bow today, pretty packaged bow on top. And it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad that we met, and I don't just not only have a new guest for the podcast, but I have a new friend. I feel so.
Yeah,
so
for
glad,
sure.
so glad that you could make it. And until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.
Love it.